Hello, everyone. Welcome to Delhi Power BI User Group Monsoon Edition. And as you know, we have planned this series, and we have Bernat with us today. He's a Microsoft MVP and works a lot with C Sharp. He's known for his unique episodes with working with C Sharp, demonstrating different tools and capabilities. I know he's a kind of developer who which is a fine balance of app development as well as the data analytics side. So which is rare to find, and at the same time we learn a lot from Bernat. In the end, we find it challenging to pour into those areas, but his sessions often make it seem easy. So welcome, Bernat, and the stage is yours.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here again. So yes, indeed, we're going to talk about C# for tabular editor scripting. Yeah, so don't expect here like a C# application or anything like that. I'm not really that good at C#, but in this small niche of C# scripting for tabular editor, then I've done some work that I want to share with you all. So I'm going to share my screen so we can get moving. Let me see. This is the one I want to share. So if you follow me, I have some blog, and then I've been explaining and how to set up the environment and how to go step by step. Today we'll do one more iteration of this. Recently, I did in the Seattle Power BI user group. We took one of the calculation groups that I explained in my blog, and then we did the script to create that calculation group. Yeah, so that you can just, in any model you are, like, oh yes, I want that. And then you don't have to go and copy the code and so on. You just right click in some element, and then maybe you provide some other column or measure, and you're done. And you have your calculation group with all the expressions correct. So how are you going to do that? Well, here I'm going to share some links that I hope that they will go in the description of the video at some point or in the chat. Let me share that with you all here. Yeah, those are the links that I'll be showing during my presentation and some of my profile. Okay, so this is one of the examples on how to do this sort of, I call this industrialization, like to start producing that calculation group very, very quickly. The first one is like some manual work, so some kind of art. But after that, you just want that result very, very quickly. So that's what you can achieve with a calculation group script. Yeah, you can do, of course, for just measures or anything. Yeah, but since I like a lot calculation groups, we'll just show how can you do that for creating a calculation group. And today I want to do one that is quite challenging because expressions are quite large, which is I think it's called dynamic gradient. Yeah, so this one is a calculation group to create this sort of gradient, a dynamic gradient, but that includes totals. Yeah, because if you go for conditional formatting of a matrix, you can say, okay, the highest value is green, the medium one is white, and the lowest one is red. You can do that, but only as long as you only have selected formatting for values. If you go and then you say, no, I want to format the values and totals, then the option of get the highest value is not longer available, and you have to provide hard-coded values. You cannot even like refer that to a measure. So that's why I wrote that calculation group, which is rather complex because then it, well, what it does, it goes and takes like maximum value, minimum value, neutral value, and then it gets the current value. And then you also provide like 3 colors for the maximum, neutral, and negative value. And then it kind of interpolates between these 3 and finally returns the color of that cell. And that's how you can get a dynamic formatting that includes also the totals. Of course, this normally makes sense for measures that are not like additive, because here is a bit complex because, I mean, it's a maximum between, all the, for a color and, I mean, it kind of like breaks down the matrix into small parts. And then inside that part, it makes this comparison because otherwise the totals will be always the highest values, right? So the interpretation I think it works best when you are working, for instance, in a year-over-year percentage growth, for instance. Then all values are quite comparable, and then you can do this sort of conditional formatting. But anyway, here what I want to show you today is how you can go about it. Then we'll see also how to use the custom functions functionality that I don't normally show in other sessions I've done on this, and how would you able to twist that? If I run out of time, I already have the script, so we can just jump into it. But at least the interesting part is the beginning and how you can set this up. Okay, so for this, we'll need Tabular Editor 2 and Visual Studio. Yeah, for Visual Studio, you can use a community version if you are going to use it only for educational purposes or open source projects. If you are going to do that, then you can use a community version, no problem. And then, so I have, and then in the Visual Studio, you need to install the .NET module, Sharp projects, and so on. Now, what we'll need to do in order to prepare the environment as much as possible to develop these scripts is we need to clone this project of mine, which is already included in the links I sent. So we're going to jump into Visual Studio and say we want to clone a repository. Then we're going to paste the URL, and we need to choose an empty folder for our repository. Yeah. So we choose the folder and say clone. And this will take very few seconds. And we'll download all those files to our machine. And in a few seconds, you'll see that we have, let me see if I can zoom here. We have it's a solution with two projects. One is called 𝐸scripts and the other is general functions. And we'll see how these work together in a second. Okay, so if we open them though, you probably will see here in the references, since I developed this, it all works very nicely, but most likely you'll see like some warning signs next to Tabular Editor and Tom Wrapper. Yeah, these two might have some problems. And then you need to fix that. Yeah, this is not that difficult. We go to a reference and then you can say add reference. And then we need to find these two. Yeah, you will not have them here. So you need to browse. Then the first one is quite easy. So it's under here. You see program files, Tabular Editor. Yeah, Tabular Editor 2. You go there and you'll find Tabular Editor .exe file. Yeah, so this is one of the two you need. And the other one is a little bit trickier, but if you can remember here, app data, to go to the default data folder, then from here you need to go one level up and you need to go to the local one. And here again, you'll find the Tabular Editor folder, and inside you'll find the DLL, the Tom Wrapper 14 DLL. These are the two things. This is explained in the blog as well. In the C# scripting Nirvana. Let me show you real quick. Where do I have this one? Yeah, in this article, you have the detail on these folders and everything. Okay. Okay, so we have those. And we repeat also for the other solution. Yeah, but still, we still have something else to fix, which is when we double click in the 𝐸scripts.cs, it all looks very nice, but when you download, here you see there's some code that has some red lines. Yeah? This is because we're still missing some references. But the way to fix that is very easy, and it's something that we'll have to do anyway later. So I'm going to right click even in the solution, and we're going to select Build Solution. Yeah. So this will create the DLL files associated with each of these projects. And in the process, it will download some dependencies that these libraries have. And you see that we suddenly have more things here under references. And we see that those red lines are gone and we have some blue lines. So meaning there's keywords of this text. Yeah. So we can start typing some code, but before doing that, we're going to set up the process of bringing this code into Tabular editor, because otherwise it's quite time consuming. You have to first select all the code, then you need to copy that, then you paste it in Tabular editor, then you need to fix some parts, because you see, this is things like this. You see, this is how Tabular editor expects to find references to external libraries. But of course, you cannot type this inside Visual Studio, because this is an error, this is not working. So what I do is I comment these lines, but then of course I would have to manually uncomment them when in Tabular editor. So what I did is another script that will come here, copy the contents and put it in the clipboard. But before copying it there, it fixes all these things. So when I paste that in Tabular editor, everything is nice and everything is fixed. So that's what we're going to do now. Yeah. First, I thought that this code would be good enough, but it turns out that the Tabular editor 2 does not have enough libraries to be able to execute this code. So what we'll do is execute a much simpler script, but based on a DLL file that we have just created. And that way, all the references are in the same folder and it works. Yeah. Anyway, the specifics are not so important. So it's just following the path is the way to go here. So you see, we have this method here, this copy macro from Visual Studio file with DLL. This is the one that we need to fix. You see that we have some paths, that these are paths that we need to introduce because these are of our machine. Yeah, so first thing is the hardest one is the first one. So we need to, here in the TS scripts, we need to right click and open the folder, open folder in File Explorer. Yeah, this is the project where all the files are. And here we need to go inside of bin and debug. And here when we scroll, we finally find one that has the same name, tscripts.dll. This is the main file that we created, and the other ones are just the necessary files for this one to work properly. So here we're going to right click on it and copy as path. If you don't see that option, then you probably have to shift right click or something like this until you find this option. And here we're going to replace, including the double quotes, we can paste it here. Yeah. So this is the one. And here underneath, you see full path of tscript CS file. This is much easier. We can just right click here, copy full path, and then we just paste it. Here we need to keep the double quotes because we'll need them. And also for general functions. Copy full path, select, paste. Okay. And this is the script we need to bring into Tabular editor to be able to reuse it over and over again, because it's the script that we'll use to copy other scripts. Okay. So how are we going to do that? Here I have the file. We're going to open Tabular editor. For this case, we don't need it to be connected, but doesn't matter if it is. And we're going to open the C# script tab. And now from our Visual Studio file, this is, you'll see once how it is if you don't have this script. So we would have to copy this, only the contents, not the actual title or anything. So we copy this and we come here. Let me make this bigger. And wait a minute. Yeah. And of course, here we need to uncomment these two. You also see that the indenting is all wrong. Yeah, but at least now it can execute. So if I execute this, hopefully, yeah, you see, I get some, whoop, where is it? Here. There you go. Yeah, we have a dialog box to say, okay, what's the macro you want to choose? You want to copy. Okay, great. So I'll say I want to copy this last one, the one that has the copy macros from VS file with DLL. And I'll say I want to copy that one, which is the same one. Yeah, but so you will see the difference as well. So if I say copy, then I can delete this and I just paste whatever is in my clipboard. And you see, oops, and we see the original one. Why did that happen? Okay, because I forgot to save my file. So I'm accessing the actual save file. So let's do that again. Oh, and I think I'll have to copy it again then. Okay, no big deal. I'll just uncomment this again. This is just once, yeah? So don't freak out. And okay, so I'm executing this. I'm copying this macro again. And now I paste it. And now I get the right code. And this is the code I want to execute over and over again. Yeah? If I execute this, I get the same thing. Yeah? But then what I'll do is store that as a macro. Yeah. So here I'll say, well, get macro August. Yeah. And I will select just model. I could select anything. It doesn't really refer to anything on my model, so I'll just pick the top one because it's always visible and say, OK. So now, even if I don't have anything, I can always come here, say macros, get macro, and I can choose any of the macros I have on that file. You see, this is the one we just saw, but the other ones are some examples or code snippets that you can find in the same order. Sorry, this one. You see here, you have some example on how to make user choose from a list, or how to ask the user for yes, no in the middle of your script if you want, or this is very important, how to ask the user to provide a name for something that you're about to create. Yeah, you see this requires some libraries, so it's good that you have them here because otherwise it's a bit difficult to know what you have to do. And in this case, this is a very easy macro to show how you can use these general functions, but this is something that we'll see now in a minute. So let's start finally with our script. Yeah. So let's have a look also at what we want to do. So here we want to create something similar to this dynamic gradient calculation group. Yeah. So this calculation group has 4 calculation items, but they work like together, and you'll see how. This is the main one. Okay, let me make this bigger. And this is how it goes. It starts with the 3 colors, and then using the other calculation items, it gets the minimum value, maximum value, and neutral value of the selected measure. And then, of course, it also gets the value of the actual selected measure in that filter context. Yeah. Okay. And then from there, it says, OK, plus 100% would be the maximum value, minus 100% would be the minimum value, and 0 would be the neutral value. OK. So this is the basic thing. And then from here, of course, we start doing. So neutral and good colors into the 3 components of the hexadecimal. So we'll get the second and third. The first one is the hashtag sign, right? So then we'll get in packs of 2, we'll break down into this hexadecimal, and then we'll convert that to numeric for all 3 colors. And then we'll also we'll get our color. We'll see, OK, what's the percentage between the good and the bad and so on. So we'll get the numeric value of the 3 red, green, and blue components for our color. And then we'll translate that into hexadecimal. And then with concatenate X, we combined it back into a color. Yeah, you see here at the end, we put again the hashtag sign, and we concatenate this table that had 3 rows, 1 for each color, and we have it back. And this is what it returns. OK. Of course, we have also the expressions for maximum, minimum, and neutral. Yeah. And this is actually the bit that we'll have to customize. Yeah, because we have no way of referring the columns that are in a visual. So we have to tell the DAX expression exactly which they are. Here, I had to modify this a little bit from the expression that is used in the original blog post. Because there, since I was using 2 columns from the same table, I would use like summarize this table for these 2 columns and so on. Here, I'm not sure which columns we're going to use. I said, OK, let's use 3, which is the same. But then I do always like a cross join, and then so I do like average X over a cross join for selected measure and doing all selected. So just moving the filter context to the to the visual level, like all the external filters. This is the only ones that we keep, and that's how I get the maximum. But of course, we need the maximum for all three columns combined, then for just two of them, or any combination of the two of them, and then also for just one of them. Okay? Because in the totals, you only have one column, right? Or you might not know, but it's still, I mean, we need to account for all these possibilities. I get the maximum. We don't really know which one is the total. We need the maximum for all three columns combined. That's the only safe way of for just two of them. But again, this is very arbitrary. So how you get the also for just one of conditional formatting, this is something that the total you only have one express here in a different expression. So you might not know, but still, if this is your expression, this is how you can for all these possibilities. I get the maximum. We don't really know which one is the total. We need the maximum for all three columns. This one is using the other one. But again, this is very. We'll start with these other ones, okay? But to be able to create these other ones, we need first to have these three columns. And of course, there is also something that I didn't mention, is that for conditional formatting, Power BI only allows you to provide measures that are text. Yeah. So in this case, we have a calculation group that would convert a number. Yeah, we have a measure, and then it will convert that to text, which would work, but Power BI doesn't allow you to do that. So what we also have to create is some measures like this that I have here. No, like this that I have here. Yeah, so we want some measures that will apply the calculation group inside the measure. Yeah, so it will apply to the margin percent, will apply this calculation group, and you see that I store that in a variable, and then I apply this format function, because format will always return text. So then when Power BI sees that this is the measure, they say, okay, this measure you can use because I'm sure that it will always return text, so you can use that for conditional formatting. Okay, so that all this is to say that for running our script, we will need that the user has one or more measures selected, okay? Because these are the measures that we're gonna create later. But of course, we'll also need for the user to provide three columns, okay? So, but these three columns we'll ask them during the execution, all right? So let's start typing code. We have a new script, but the scripts don't return anything, yeah? So we always start with void, and then we put some name so that we remember what is this about, and we call a dynamic gradient, something like this, and then we need to provide a couple of parentheses, and then we can open that, and then we start typing. Okay, as I was mentioning, we need to make sure that there are some measures selected. Yeah, this is quite easy. So we start with an if, and then there's an object called selected that contains everything that you have selected on your tabular object model. Yeah, we want to know if the measures, there are any measures selected. So count equals 0. Yeah, we don't have any measures selected. Then we need to stop execution. Yeah, and we throw an error. Error, select at least one measure, and try again. Okay, we finish that with a semicolon, and then return. Return is like, okay, end of the execution. We don't return anything because this doesn't return anything, but that's it. If we reach this point where I'm now, we'll still, well, there is at least one measure selected, so we can continue. Now, to select a column, because we need now these three columns, this is a bit boring because we need first to ask for a table and then for a column. Table and a column, table and a column. And also we need to make sure that we take care of possible errors. So maybe the user will cancel the execution when it's asked to please select the column. It will close the dialog, no table selected. And then we need to throw an error that is nice. No, it's not just crashing the macro. And of course, it would be very painful to write this 3 times. So we're going to use this general functions thing. Yeah, so in order to do that, we're going to go to the other script. And here we see we have a static class effects. Here we're gonna, the same way, we're gonna use that in the beginning. And we need to start them all as public static. And here we need to provide what is this method going to return. So we're gonna return a column in this case, okay? And we're gonna call this select table column, okay? And now this is something that needs to be done for Tabular Editor too, and is that the model, you cannot really refer the model like, yeah, just model dot inside a custom class. It does not work, so we need to pass it as an argument. Model, okay? And from there, we can provide as well the two questions. The question for please select a table, please select a column. Yeah, so we can call this string table prompt, and we can provide a default value like this. Select table, and we can have also string column prompt equals select column. All right, and that's good. And here it's complaining because it's already saying, but there's some path that is not returning anything. That's okay. Yeah, we know we haven't typed anything. So how are we going to do this? Well, first we need to ask the user for a table. So we're going to store that table in a table type variable. This is a type. This is a variable equals. And then luckily we have a select table. Have a select table. Wait a minute. Yeah, we need to provide what are the tables. In this case, are going to be all the tables of the model. Model.tables. Okay, we don't have any clue which table might the user select. And here for label, we're going to provide the table prompt. Yeah. Okay. Table prompt is not liking it because because I wrote it wrong here. Prompt. Okay, now it's good. All right. But you see that typing here, the experience is so good because you have this measure, but you're not using it. None of this is possible in Tabular Editor 2 because it's not really a coding application. Yeah, so this is a much better tool for the job. But as I was saying, maybe the user will cancel that and we don't get anything. So then we'll say if table equals null, then we're gonna throw an error. I don't know, we're gonna say you cancel. And then return null as column. Yeah, because otherwise it might complain. Yeah, so the whole method will return a null. And then, but if we reach this point, it means that we have a table, so we can continue and say column equals, and then select column. Oh wait, I think we don't have that function here. Sorry, because these functions normally are hidden in this script helper. Yeah, here I have it, but this script helper thing will cause me problems later when I copy the script back to Tabular Editor. So what I do is I have here, you see I have these functions that are called the same, but don't have the script helper. But you see I have the select table, but I don't have the select column. But I think I have it in the other. So I'll just copy. Here, select column, you see. I'm going to copy this one. Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm going to copy this one here. I mean, I could do it all, but I didn't. So now I can use this already. Select column, I'm gonna select column. Now it's working. And now I need to provide the columns, which are gonna be the table dot columns. Okay, and for the label, we're gonna provide the column prompt. Okay, great. But again, we might have the same problem. And we can just copy this code and say if column equals null, then yeah, you cancel and that's it. Okay, and otherwise, it means we have a column and that's exactly what we have to return. So this is our function. And then we can call it 3 times and without repeating all the code. So we can go now again, save this one, we can come here again, we go to the first script, and now we can, so column, field 1, column equals, and then to call that one, we just need to type fx dot, and we have the select table column. And you see, we even get like IntelliSense for that specific method, which is wonderful. Yeah, and here remember that we need to provide the model, which it's not really great, but we can use it. And then table prompt, we can also change that to select first field. First field table. And here, maybe we need to provide the name as well, table prompt. And column prompt. Select the first field column. Okay. Yeah, I don't like this table again. I forgot about the P. We can also do, I don't know. I like, yeah, something quite vertical when I type, so I can see things. Something like this. Yeah, and then of course we might have a null here. So then again, we need to cancel also this execution and say if field 1 column equals null. Then we're going to just put return. Return. Okay, it's not liking this. Field 1 column. Ah, yeah, the L was missing. Yeah, this is since we already showed all the error messages inside this method. Here we don't have to show any other error message. It's already clear what happened. So, and then we don't need the extra curly brackets and so on. We can just go like this. Yeah, and then we can just, oops, sorry. We can just copy that 3 times. And we have field 2. Then we can write here second. And this is field, and here is field 2 again, and field 3, field 3, third, and third. All righty. So we already have the 3 columns now. Yeah, and we are sure that we have all 3 because otherwise it would have stopped. So we can start building our calculation group. Yeah. Now, we'll need a name for that calculation group. What we can use normally when we develop is we just store these variables at the top. String, dynamic. Oh, this is a bit long. So DG calc group name, dynamic gradient. We'll put a 2 because we have another one already. Okay, this is going to be our name. And we're going to use that also for the column. So to create a calculation group is quite straightforward. When we start from the model, and then we say add calculation group. And from here, we need only to provide a name, which is the DG calc group name. That's it. But we also we should change the name of the column because otherwise it's called name. It's not really good. So, but in order to work with the calculation group, we need to store it in a variable. So we're going to go with calculation group table and dgcalc group equals, okay. Yeah, this returns a calc group table, yeah, very important. Now, we're going to go dgcalc group, that columns. The very first column, we can refer also with the index starting by 0. So this is the first column, which is always the one that has all the calculations. Dot name, name equals, we'll use the same name. I always do that. Very good. So we already have a calc group. Now we need to start adding the calculation items. So how are we going to do that? We need, we can already create the variable calculation group item, which is going to be the max calc item equals. And here, of course, we'll need to provide a name, an expression. Yeah, so we can start typing it. dgcalc group dot add calculation item. Yeah, we see here we need to provide name and expression. Yeah, you can see here. So, it's almost better to first create the variables with those contents and then just use those variables there. So let's do that. The name of the calculation item, maybe we can provide it here at the top because it's going to be quite generic. And then is a max calc item name, and we'll call this a max value. Okay. And we're going to do that already for the other ones. So it's going to be a min string and a neutral calc item name equals neutral value. All right. So we just need the expressions. You see that this is marking. Nobody's using this one yet. Okay, I know. Now here we can go with string, and then it's max calc item expression. I think it's good to have long names that are already easy to understand. And here is the trick. So we just want to use this really long DAX expression, and we want to customize some bits of it. So the way to go around it is first put something like this, yeah. And now we'll paste the expression here. Yeah, this will take care of doubling double quotes and things like this. So let's go into Tabular editor, and we're going to copy the, where is it? Here, the max value expression, which is this one. All right, so I copy this and I paste it here. Yeah. Here we don't have much double quotes, but if we had them, we would see that they are been doubled. We can fix that so it looks nicer. Okay. And but of course we need to modify these little bits. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put all this string inside a function, which is called string.format. Okay. String.format takes a string, and then it can replace the placeholders it has. Yeah, so we can replace one bit with a curly bracket 0, curly bracket 0, 1, 2, and so on. And then we can provide the contents for this placeholder as further arguments of the function. Okay. So here, I don't know, we can just go with this one. I'm gonna make sure that I'm using the same thing everywhere. So I'm gonna select this and say Control F. I want to replace, and I'm going to find product manufacturer in the selection, yeah, and replace it by 0 inside curly brackets. Then I replace this, and you see we have a 0, 0, 0, and so on. And we're gonna do the same for this one. I mean, since I know for sure that this is not used anywhere else, I'm just gonna go with current document. There's the 1. Okay, it's also 5, so it looks like it's okay. And then we just pick the third one and say that this should be 2. Okay, very good. Let me check, is this okay? Yeah, I think it has all the combinations. So now we need to provide whatever goes into the 0, 1, and 2, which are actually just the columns that we just selected, but of course, not the object. We need some string, and we need a string that has the table name with the single quotes and then the square brackets, the column name. Luckily for us, we don't have to type all this because we can just go with field 1 column dot. Where is this not showing me? Is this correct? Yeah. Field 1 column is a column. Not completely sure why the IntelliSense is not working at this point. Oh, now it will. Field 1 column, then DAX object full name. This will take care of everything. So it's going to be using this column with anything it needs. And we'll do the same for the other two. You see, and at first I started coding with Tabular Editor 2, and it took a long while until I realized somewhere that this function exists, because the IntelliSense was not showing it to me on Tabular Editor 2, but of course it is in Visual Studio. So this will provide us our nice expression. And now, of course, we still need to create the calculation item, which is max calc item name and max calc item expression. Very good. But we need to fix all these extra tabs that we added. So we can go max calc item name, max calc item, and then we have format DAX. And this will take care of it. And we'll put beautifully formatted. Okay, so we need to repeat that again for 2 and 3. But right now I'm gonna go with the easy way. I'm gonna copy that because we are a bit short on time. Fill 1, format DAX. Okay. We're gonna copy. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. It just changes like a couple things. All right. And here maybe the name is different. Neutral value calc item name. And what did I call it? Okay, I think we have some name problems. Wait a minute. Neutral, I'll just fix it here. Value. Or no? Okay, it always gets mixed up, yeah? It's okay, we'll find it. Here we have the mean value calculated expression. Okay. Mean calc item name. All right. And here we'll have the neutral calc item name. Okay, this looks good. Now we need to do the third one, which is pretty much the same. It's just a bit longer. But here actually we have, what is it? Oh yeah, we need to change a few things. Let's have a look first how it looks. Here we need to, of course, maybe we decided to pick a different name for the calc items. And of course, maybe we picked a different name for the calculation group. So we'll just need to replace this part to get the actual max value, neutral value, and so on. Because from here, for this line till the very end, there is nothing that you need to customize because it's just the calculation that takes place. So we can do that. we're gonna go here, and we're gonna go here, and then we're gonna go calculation item. Well, we need, of course, we need a calculation item name. Yes, we got a string, but neutral good calc item name equal, and we call it bad neutral good. Yeah. And then, of course, we're going to need an expression for that as well. String expression equals, and then we'll just go with, again, we go with first, and this double quotes, and we're going to paste the whole expression. And paste this here. You see that it's quite mechanic. Of course, I mean, sometimes it's a bit trickier. You need to think of what are you going to select and how are you going to store. Sometimes you want to repeat, and then you don't want to create a new one. There are several cases that make it a bit more sophisticated, but if you just want to automate some large expression with some customization, this is quite straightforward. So this is the one, and then we need to replace this part by some placeholder. Yeah, I think this is the only part, so we're just going to select this, and then I'm going to replace that. Okay. And then this I'm using just one, so this is going to be 1, this is going to be 2, and this is going to be 3. You see, in this case, it was very useful that it doubled the double quotes, because you see there's quite a lot of them, and doing that manually is quite painful. And now we can already add the string dot format, and we can go at the very end and add these extra arguments. It's the first one is the 𝐒𝐤𝐞𝐬 group, but we need the column, remember, so we need to go to columns, very first column, because we're not sure what the name is going to be, dot, and here we just say DAX object full name. Very good. Next. Now we need to provide the good, neutral, and bad, right? In this order. Let me check. No, it's min, max, and neutral. Okay, so let's do it in that order. This is just the name of the calculation. So the min value calc item name. Wait, it's not called like this. In value calc item name, I would say. This is not correct. Why is that? I call this, sorry about that, min, oh no, it's min calc item name. Okay, no value. Okay, min item name, min, max, and neutral, you said, huh? Max calc item name, there it is, and neutral calc item name. Okay, good. We're gonna move this a bit. Let me see. This goes here. This goes here. Okay. Then we need to close. So this is expression, and now we can already create that. So we can go to the 𝐒𝐤𝐞𝐬 group dot add calculation item. And then we have the name, which is the neutral name, and expression. Okay, very nice. And of course, we need, as usual, we need to store that in a calculation item, the bad neutral good calc item equals, okay. Yeah, we can just move things like this. Okay, so this way we can just pick this one as well and say format DAX. Very good. And what else? Now we already have the calculation group, so we can start creating the measures. Yeah. So now we need to iterate over the measures. And I see that we're running out of time, so I'm just gonna copy the code and we're going to see a little bit how it was built, but it's not so difficult. This goes like this. So we can do a for each, and then we need to define a measure that will iterate over all the measures that we have selected. And we need to define this string, which is, okay, we create a new measure, then we need to create a new name. We can use the original name with a suffix. So we can go string, which can be just like conditional format, something like this. Yeah. So here, when we go back, where is it? Yeah, that's it. So you see this original name is the new measure name is the original one plus the suffix. The expression is exactly what we did until now. This is the original measure that goes here. This is the calculation group column equals to the calculation item for bad, neutral, good. And here it does the same trick of storing it into a variable and then returning the format of that variable. All right. And at the end, it does create the measure and it formats the DAX. Okay. So is this working? Yeah, because we didn't really pay much attention of how it works. So we didn't test it midway, which is not a great idea. But anyway, I saved the changes. So I can go back here and I can go to the model, go to macros, get macro. And if you use it, the first one, then it's already selected and you can go and paste it here. And from there, we can see what happens. If I don't select anything, it should throw an error and it says, okay. Oh, wait a minute. Wait, I think I forgot something. Oh, yes. You see, it's complaining about this fx. What is this fx? I don't know what is this talking because I didn't put the using general functions. Okay, no problem. Okay, so I do it again. I say copy this one. Okay, delete this one. And when I paste it, you see here what happens. At the very end, it copied the part from the general functions as well. Yeah, you see, this is the end of my macro, and then it added the extra class at the bottom. And now it's not complaining anymore, or it should not. Let's see. If I execute, okay, hello. Selected measure count. Why is this not complaining? Okay. Selected measure count. This should throw some. Oh, okay. What is going on? Some errors. Okay, looks like I forgot something. Okay, the error message from Tabular editor are not great, so that's why we should always use something else. I'm gonna go with the other one so that at least you see the final result. There might be some typo somewhere. I'm gonna use the other, which copies from the one I used before. It's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, you cancel exactly. This is the one we're gonna use. And we're gonna execute this one. Okay, select at least one measure. This is what we expected. And now if I'm gonna delete these ones. These are gone. Okay, so now I select a few measures and I execute this code, but actually I'm just even gonna go one step further. I'm gonna record that and it's called a dynamic gradient. And this should only show up when I have measures selected. So I right click here, go to macros. I'm gonna choose this one. I say, okay, select the first field. You can see that. So I don't know, I can go with a product and then I pick the manufacturer and then I go again for product and now I pick color And else I go to the store and I pick continent. Yeah. And this should generate, where is it? Oh, dynamic gradient. Oh, of course, since I executed this one, it used the same name for the calculation group. So when it created that, since I already had one, it put it a 1 underneath. But you see, this is the new one because these changes are not yet back in the model. So, and this is the expression for each of the calculation items. And as well, I have the new measures that are using the new calculation group. You see that they have the 1. Yeah, so I can save back to the model. And here at some point I should get a warning. Where is it? Did not really work out. Let's see here. Now I finally have this yellow banner saying I need to recalculate the model. Okay, so now I have this one. And this is the calculation group that is being used by the measure. So if I create a new one, I create a matrix. Now I can use, we went for product, brand, well, a manufacturer, and color. Color should be, well, we can use it anyway. And then store, continent, and now we can go for sales and we can put the sales amount. Okay. And we can also filter maybe for a year or something, date, year. Now, where is it? We'll put it here. Okay. Expand this. Okay. And now we can use the to set up the format. We need to go, they hide it so much now. Okay, we go to format and we go to the cell elements and we say we want to change the background color. And here we can choose any measure. In this case, if we just want to use the equivalent from sales amount, well, we can just type CF and you get all of them and say, okay, sales amount. Oh, but sorry, since our measure is returning an actual hexadecimal color, we need to go with field value. Yeah, and now we go sales amount. And here we can, of course, say for everyone, values and totals. And this, exactly, now this is formatting all of it. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not sure where the typo was, but basically the process is what you just saw. And well, and you can apply it to anything. You saw in Seattle, I did the one on how to sort the matrix by a calculation item. And I plan to do that because I think it's convenient, because for me, I didn't write this script before, so I wrote it for this session. And it's something that it can be useful as well. So it's a win-win situation, so to say. I don't know if there's any questions. I haven't followed the chat or YouTube, so I hope that Dhruvin will let me know how's the reaction or is there any questions. Awesome.
And this is really gonna take people to the next level of development for Power BI as well. So these are the things.
Yeah, this can take you like superpowers. You can, I mean, this is a very complex one, but the easy ones are also great. So just create some measures like this. This thing counts, rows, all this can be created like this. I also have examples in my blog. For instance, when you have an inactive relationship, then you can create a calculation group that activates that relationship. So easy. You can just right click on the relationship in the tabular editor, and then it will create the calculation group and the calculation item. And if you do it for another one, it will just add the calculation item to your existing calculation group, which is even better. So from there, you can do these things. And the good thing is that when you work with a script, then you can do things very well. I mean, here we didn't do it, but you can add descriptions as well, something that you might not do when you do it manually. So, and then you do the formatting and you do the descriptions, and you can even put like some comment in the expression because you only have to do it once. So you can create faster and better code. So, and when you think you're going to do it this once, then you do things much, much better. And you can keep improving them. I have a script that does this, but oh, maybe we could do something even better than that. And it brings your productivity always up. Yeah, and it's a lot of fun as well.
Right. So, Bernat, one little question, like in in day-to-day business scenarios, any you'd like to quote, right? Some business scenario or an example, like where where this could be utilized. For instance,
well, I mean, yeah, this use case, it came out from a situation at work. In that case, the measure for formatting was year-over-year percentage.
Okay.
Very, very powerful. Because when you have a matrix, if you just show numbers, they tell me nothing. But if you put some symbols or some coloring saying, okay, look out here, something happened here, then you put the mouse there, and then maybe you have a tooltip that says why it's red. And then you can show the last year value, current year value, and so on. So I think it's a very good way to drive the user where it needs to go. So, but of course, we have the limitation on the totals, and you see that picking a maximum and minimum is not a trivial question. So you need to think exactly how you want this to work. Yeah. So maybe you need to change the expression for maximum and minimum. But the very tough one, which is the one for the color, this stays the same. You can just change the colors at the very top, and that's it. You don't need to change anything else. It will work with your measure and with the maximums that you define.
Ooh, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, glad I did it. So, is that any?
Right. Right. I was saying that next time you say something that tell your client this is not feasible in Power BI or Tabular cubes, go ask Bernat first.
Yeah. If it can be typed, it can be done. Yeah, I don't know. Yes. Sure. Yeah. Sure. I mean, I'm surprised that question didn't came out. Somebody asked, can I do this in VS Code? And the answer is, if you are using Tabular Editor 2, you cannot go with VS Code. Because with Tabular Editor 2, you need to compile the DLL as we saw. But if you're lucky enough to have Tabular Editor 3, then you can execute the long script directly, and you don't need the DLL. So you can use VS Code if you know how to set up the libraries, which you have to do with some typing. You don't have the nice interface that we saw. But if you can handle that part, then you can use T3 and VS Code, or T2 with Visual Studio. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the two things you need to.
Just out of curiosity, have you tried working this out without Tabular Editor? Because there are people who do not use Tabular Editor still.
You need Tabular Editor. Yeah, okay. Because you need all the objects and all the methods. I mean, if you don't have the Tabular Editor, you cannot reference those two files, and then Visual Studio does not know what a column is, what a model is, and you don't have any useful IntelliSense for anything. I mean, and you don't have a place to execute the code later. So yes, you need Tabular Editor.
Right. So it's like for instance, if I'm working this in XMLA, yeah, or Tom using.
Yeah, but then it's different. Yeah, because then it's much, much harder. You have first you need to connect to already an analysis services, and you need to write TMC, Tabular Model Scripting Language, which is much more difficult.
Right.
So Daniel did a great job of encapsulating some things, simplifying some stuff, creating some extra. So it has its wrapper library, which simplifies the process for all of us. So
a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's even like a portable Tabular editor. So I mean, I don't know if it's okay with your company, but you can for sure execute that.
Right. I recall some working with multidimensional models earlier, where to insert these scripts we had to go through TMSL, deploy these to the server.
Yeah, I think Phil Seamark has some blog post of his explaining how can you create a calculation group with TeamCell.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna do that. Sorry.
All right. Thank you so much, Bernat, for joining us today.
Thank you, Bernat.
It's been a great learning session. Thanks for your time.
Anytime. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.